You're listening to 98.3 FM, WRLR LP, Round Lake, Illinois.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County from Round Lake Beach Metro Station. The last day of July for our Illinois listeners. I'm your host, Carson Beck, and I'm with Dominic Pavell in studio as our very own Rusty Silver is about to go airborne, departing from the Los Angeles area, coming on over here. Dominic, how are we doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on again. I love doing this with you and Rusty. I believe Rusty's in flight already. I think he flew.
Yeah, he told me that he was departing at 5:15 Central when he'll be airborne. He said he was scared of a monsoon in Arizona that might.
I had to go around it. Just go up to Vegas. Go up through Vegas, and you'll be fine.
He told me there was a fire going on there, and I said, "Hey, I don't know if you knew this, Don, but I'm a Raiders fan." And I told him, "Keep that away from my beloved Allegiant Stadium. That's a crown jewel."
You're gonna love. You gonna get that number 4 jersey yet? For the Raiders?
The Aiden O'Connell one now?
Absolutely.
Well, I have the Derek Carr one, but
I don't know. AOC? I coached him in AAU basketball since 4th grade. I'm good friends with the family.
Wow, I didn't know Aiden O'Connell played hoops.
Dude.
How long did he hoop for?
He hooped until his sophomore year of high school.
So did he ever play on the freshman team at Stevenson?
Yeah. Oh,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, no. Aiden's a shooter. Aiden would have been a Division I basketball player.
Interesting. I would like to see him get reps. I think Jimmy Garoppolo will get hurt at some point, and I've heard good things with him in spring camp. I think he'll get his time.
He trains with Jeff Christensen, who my son trained with also. And if anyone watches Netflix quarterback thing, Jeff trains Pat Mahomes. So Jeff's had Aiden since Aiden was in 5th or 6th grade, and he's always said Aiden was a pro.
Yeah, I thought Aiden did excellent at Purdue. He ripped my heart out, though, in 2021. As you know, I went to Iowa, and we just knocked out Penn State.
Yeah.
When it was like number 3 versus number 4 or whatever, and Iowa got to number 2.
Yeah.
And then Purdue went into Kinnick Stadium and slapped us around silly, and then down went the season for Iowa.
His ability to process is second, and that's all right. For Aiden, people don't know a lot of his teammates from high school were on the Iowa team too. So
really, like Marquise probably.
Yeah, Marquise. Yeah.
Yep.
So then and also Charlie Jones was on that team too until he transferred
to Purdue.
Yeah, right.
Oh, he had some wheels for on the return side. Charlie Jones. Oh man, you make me miss him. But
they were playing him at receiver.
Yeah,
you gotta have a quarterback to pass the ball. He gets Aiden O'Connell, he becomes all conference, right. And he had more catches in that first game of the season than he had in his whole career at Iowa.
I'll give Aiden O'Connell his due because his last year he was very resilient and brought Purdue to the Big Ten championship. I remember, I don't know if you heard this story. Going into the Big Ten championship, his brother passed away, but then Michigan's. You know what a collective is? Yeah. The NIL people?
Yeah.
Well, the Michigan collective donated money towards the O'Connell family, and I thought that was very sportsmanlike, something you wouldn't see nowadays.
I knew Aiden's brothers, his whole family really well. We've been friends since Aiden was in 4th grade. So, so I went to the services and stuff for Sean. But a great family. You can't find a better family, top to bottom, with his parents, Jim and Kathy, and then you go all the way down to Grace. The great people.
Yeah, I definitely think he'll solidify himself as the number 2 with the Raiders. But
Garoppolo barely passes the physical. So
they put that as a contingency requirement in his contract. If you don't pass, you're not coming here.
No. And Aiden, from everything I've been hearing, is lighting it up in camp right now. And so he's arguably, in obviously my humble opinion, I think he's number 2 right now, and Hoyer's just there to mentor.
I think Hoyer kind of needs to hang up the cleats. I think the number 2 spot, if I was Josh
I think Hoyer
McDaniel,
doesn't care. They're going to keep him. He's going to be like, who was the quarterback for the Chiefs last year, the backup? Daniels.
Yeah, Haney, right?
Haney.
Yeah.
He played. He was in the league 14 years or something like that. It was and only started like 10 games or 15 games.
Yeah.
So that's hey, as a backup man, you can have a good long career in the NFL, collecting a nice paycheck.
Unfortunately, I will say I'm hoping the Silver and Black tank and go 0-17 and get Caleb Williams next year.
No,
I want Josh McDaniels gone, and I don't trust Jimmy Garoppolo. I don't trust either of those two.
Jimmy Garoppolo wins, Aiden O'Connell wins, and Chase McDaniels is the best quarterback for him. And Caleb Williams is a good quarterback, but I'm just telling you, like, when it comes down to processing and making the plays, anyone can play when you got 11 pros on your team in college.
Yeah.
So it's a lot different than being able to process. Look what Aiden did at Purdue in making other players better.
Oh, yeah.
So that's when you, to me, as also a kind of a scout too, you want to look to see the type of person they are and how they make somebody else better. Caleb Williams has got great talent. He's a Heisman. But how many Heismans have like fizzled out in the pros?
I think the last legitimate Heisman, I guess you can make a decent NFL career for, is maybe Carson Palmer. I think aside from that,
good career. I agree.
I think aside from that, Mariota, yeah, he's still in the league. Winston's still in the league.
Have you seen the quarterback?
Yeah,
Mariota quitting on his team.
Oh, I didn't get to that part.
Oh,
come on, man! Spoiler alerts.
Spoiler. Well, you paid attention to the NFL.
Oh yeah, of course.
When he got benched by Ritter,
yeah,
he quit.
But I think it's one of those situations where it's like you need to have a veteran be the mentor.
Yes.
I don't think Ritter was ready to start week one.
No, I agree.
But then he shined when he got his chance. And
I agree.
Now they're giving him the keys this year.
But Mariota, for him to just quit and say, he had to have his surgery or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But be a mentor then.
Yeah.
All right, it's your time to sit down, but still stay with the team and mentor Ritter.
I'm trying to blank where Mariota ended up in free agency.
He's Philly.
Philly, okay. Yeah, I think him and Jalen Hurts have similar styles.
But yeah, very similar. Jalen's a little bit more accurate of a passer.
Yeah.
So, hopefully Mariota knows, all right, just be a mentor, dude. Just be a role model. Just be a great teammate.
But can Jalen Hurts throw a touchdown to himself in a playoff game?
Yeah, I think so. Jalen Hurts is 10 times better than Mariota ever will be. Even though Mariota was a Hall of Famer, that was the Oregon days when they were just putting up 60 points a game.
When I was in Hawaii, a couple of people said that they got to see him play. In high school in Hawaii, and it's so cool. When I was in Hawaii a couple weeks ago, you obviously know Pearl Harbor and the Arizona where the main destruction occurred. It's crazy. You go into Arizona and you're absorbing the history. Then my parents tap me on the shoulder and say, "That's Aloha Stadium where the University of Hawaii Rainbow Warriors play."
Yeah.
And I thought that's really strange that from all places you get a view of the stadium from here.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's on my bucket list to go to. I actually am kind of a history buff, so I want to go to Normandy and I want to go to Hawaii and go to the Arizona. I was an Army guy. I was in active duty for 4 years.
Oh wow!
And then there's still 99. It's 7 years. Sorry.
All right, thank you for your service. And unfortunately, I always root for Navy. One of my best college buddies went to Navy, so I always root for Navy in the Army-Navy game.
You can do that. It's okay. If you got a friend that goes there, that's fine. But overall, Army is where it's at.
All right. So we're having Dominic Pavell in today. We'll talk to Fidel Garcia shortly in about 5 minutes. Dom, before we get into sports, primarily football today, did you know that this past weekend was the Lake County Fair?
I did know that, actually. My son and daughter had a friend in the pageant.
Oh wow!
I always butcher her last name, Amanda Harmon. She was a state gymnast for the vault, I believe, at Warren High School. So she was in the pageant. So.
Oh wow! Do you know how she finished?
She got a couple of awards. I'm not sure how she finished though. I think she didn't win it. So I don't know who actually won, but got a couple awards. Congeniality. I don't know. I don't know the awards for pageants. I try to avoid the pageant circuit as much as possible.
Whenever they do those pageants, right? Not only do you gotta, make your case and wear a dress, don't they always have to do like some sort of talent too? Or is that just for Miss America?
I think that's just for Miss America.
Okay.
I think they do an interview, and then they might have 3 different, the gown and maybe a swimsuit. I don't know, and then there's an interview. But I don't. Yeah, hopefully it's not like a talent show also.
Oh, I could have sworn maybe it was all levels that they had to sing or dance or juggle or what have you. Kick a soccer ball.
Very possibly. That would be a great one if you could juggle a soccer ball. I mean, you'd be an athlete. Like Amanda, talent-wise, I mean, she's a state gymnast. So, like anyone else in the pageant, like, come on, you can't even hold a candle to her.
Okay. I knew.
And I'm partial because my son's been friends with her from when she was at Carnival and for 4 or 5 years now. So.
Yeah, I chickened out on Saturday because I knew that was the dog training events. I'm just terrified of dogs, but I know all those furry friends were there. I think I saw that advertised.
Oh, yeah. No, I probably wouldn't. I don't like crowds anymore. I'm getting old. I'm 52 now, so, standing in line I hate, and then plus it was like 100 degrees. So I'm not gonna hang out there too much. I mean, if I would, I'd just grab a funnel cake and grab something to drink. And
so that's your like county fair food of choice, funnel cake.
Oh, for sure, by far.
Man, you should see what they have at like Wisconsin State Fair, like fried Snicker bars or anything like that. Like heart attack on a stick for you.
Everything's a heart attack on a stick at a carnival or a fair. So I would eat a corn dog here and there too, and the funnel cake. But I don't get too crazy. But I've seen like the Wisconsin Fair on TLC or whatever that channel is, the Travel Channel.
Oh, okay.
And everything and all the different. I would try some of that stuff because I'm a little bit of a foodie too. So you got Barbecue Productions was up there.
Yes.
So I think that's the best wing in Illinois.
Best wings.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I've gone to Barbecue Productions for wings. I'm a brisket fellow.
Yeah. No, best wings by far. The dry rub, and then you have the assortment of different barbecue sauces that he has. So
he has like 6.
Yeah.
I will go down to my grave saying that Barbecue Productions probably has the best cornbread, hands down, that I've ever had. If you ever had the cornbread,
I have actually. That's a bold call, but I would agree with you. It's up there because it's really moist and tender.
Yeah,
it's really good. I like it a lot. So he's good. Chris Schoenberger does a good job with Barbecue Productions.
I think they have also a connection with our men and women in blue too. I think that they're very supportive of police. I know they have like Blue Lives
too.
Matter shirts and whatnot there, and sometimes you see a cop or two in there.
Yeah, how I met Jason McKee. Jason McKee's dad is a veteran.
Oh, wow.
And so on Veterans Day one time, he had just posted it on Facebook or Twitter or something. Hey, any veteran comes to Barbecue Productions, I'm up here, I'll buy you dinner and everything. So I stopped by, and Chris comped to dinner. I think he comped it for Jason too. But yeah, he's very supportive of any first responder, which you should be. I'm obviously as a veteran, I tell everyone the story. It's the best decision my mom ever made for me. It was join the military, get out of the house. So I joined. So that was my choice. But Chris, the way you have to support them, it's been kind of upsetting the last couple of years when people were, very disrespectful to the military and first responders and police and stuff like that.
Oh, it's one of those things where you don't know how great they are until they're not there.
Right, until you need them.
Right. But
absolutely, great point.
Anyway, we're going to try getting our very own Fidel Garcia on the line, the Warren Blue Devils basketball varsity assistant boys basketball coach, so we can talk some football. Coach Garcia, how are we doing today?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, we can hear you loud and clear. Coach Garcia, before we dive into some football, I remember you told us before we let you go last Monday that you were going to see the intelligentsia because it was coming to your neck of the woods after it came to Mundelein on Monday. How was that experience? It looked like you had a blast and a half.
It was really good. It was, like I said, it was really nice to have it really close to my house. I brought the kids over. they were really impressed with how fast the ladies were able to ride, and then we caught a little bit of the end of the ladies professional circuit, and then we watched the entire race for the men's pro, and I mean it's like it's NASCAR on wheels, on cycling wheels. So it was fun, and we really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to watching it again next year.
Are they expected to come to your neck of the woods again next year as part of the schedule?
That I'm not certain about, but given how well the event went, I'm going to go ahead and say, yeah, probably.
Is that this is Dominic Fidel, so nice to hear from you again. Is that the bicycling cycle?
Yes, that's the Intelligentsia is American cycling, which is crit cycling.
Oh.
It's basically a loop that depends on whatever the course, wherever the street says it is, but it's typically a loop.
Yeah.
And these guys are going, anywhere between 25 to 40, 45 miles per hour. So it's intense.
Have you ever been up to in Wisconsin, Milwaukee, outside Milwaukee? They got one of those the Veradomes or the bowl,
yes,
where they race on the race the bikes on the bowl.
Yes, I've been to them before. I think there's also one, I want to say in Glenbrook. I want to say there may be one there too.
Oh, really?
But yeah, the velodromes.
Yeah,
the velodromes.
Yeah.
That's even more intense.
Yeah.
Those guys, they get on a single speed bike without any gears, and there's a lot of times most of the time there's no brakes either.
Right.
So it's one speed, and you're the only way you really slow down is by
stop pedaling and just coast.
Yeah, just coasting, waiting until you're due to stop.
Yeah, I actually coaching AAU basketball for Full Package. There's a dad that still rides. He's master's level. He's like 50, probably a 56 or 57 now, but he still races on that circuit, and he's raced up there. He goes all over the world and everything. He's really good, but it's more of a amateur, his level. He's not professional, but yeah, when you watch those, I mean, those guys are phenomenal. Their balance, people don't realize their balance and the power and the speed that they ride at, and then also because there's a lot of strategy in it from what I remember watching in the Olympics. I do love watching it during the Olympics.
No, you're right. And I'm going to guess that the dad is probably Eastern European.
Very good.
Right?
Yeah.
And he it's very the single speed velodrome is very, very well, cycling period is very popular with Eastern Europeans, but there's a big network of Eastern Europeans in that Lemont western suburbs area.
Okay.
And
yes,
those guys go to the shop a lot that I go to, and they're just like you said, they're 40, 50, 60-year-old guys that can really crank out a lot of watts.
Yeah.
And you look at their ride, and they're averaging anywhere between 20, 24 miles per hour. So,
hey, Coach, while we have you on, let's dissect some football a little bit. We were talking a little Northern Lake County last week, and I want to continue that conversation that we had last week. Kind of an open-ended question, guide us if you will. As we know, last handful of years, probably since COVID, the conference has kind of been dominated by Wakanda as well as Antioch primarily. Based off what you learned last year, and maybe if you looked at any talent that's been gained or lost, who do you expect maybe to be the third team up, if you will, to kind of keep Antioch and Wakanda honest? We know Grays Lake Central's made back-to-back playoff appearances. Grays Lake North went, I believe, 9-2 or 7 wins, I believe, last year. Who are you expecting to kind of maybe be a dark horse, if you will, in the Northern Lake County?
That's a good question. So yeah, if I had to guess it today, it's got to be between Wakanda and Antioch. But I think there are a couple dark horses. I think you hit it on the head. I think Grays Lake Central, given their past record, given Coach Perlman's record in the past, just with what he's been able to accomplish, if he's able to kind of put things together quickly, as you know, Great Lakes Central's got a lot of talent there. They've had a lot of talent for the last half a decade or so, and that's a team that if they're able to kind of get things going, remember their early schedule.
Yes.
Those games against Bolingbrook and who's the other team?
Geneseo.
Those two teams are going to really prepare them for their conference. So I think Grays Lake Central's in a really good spot. Obviously, they're not favorites to win, but the target's not on their back. They're not exactly the hunted, but that's a team I really like maybe sneaking in there and winning it. And then the other team is their neighbors to the north there, Grays Lake North.
Mm-hmm.
I really like what their coach has done. They got a little bit of a different culture. They have some good athletes there. And again, they don't have a target on their back. That's a team that I think, let's say some injuries happen or if they're playing some really good football, that's a team that may be able to steal a win to put them up at the third, second, maybe even the top spot.
Coach, how do you mentioned that those two games for the Rams will challenge them, but I'm a little concerned because I haven't seen Grays Lake Central be this consistent 3 years in a row. And when you play juggernauts like that, yes, it helps your seeding wise, but is there any sort of skepticism on your mind? And Coach Pavell can chime in on this as well. What happens if you're Grays Lake Central and the worst case scenario happens that these two teams are maybe a little too much for them to handle? How do you think that maybe kind of changes the course of their season if, God forsaken this, but 0-2 happens, or maybe best case scenario 1-1 happens to Grays Lake Central? Do you think it's a little bit of an uphill battle, or how do you think that looks?
I think best case scenario is obviously 2-0, but to go 1-1 would be a really good scenario for them. To go 0-2 wouldn't be a bad situation either. If you look at that conference, I think Coach Perlman sees in his eyes that if they're going to win a state championship one day, then they're going to have to be prepared prior to the regular season conference, because those games are what's really going to help them in the playoffs. When you look at their schedule,
mm-hmm.
you got to imagine they're saying to themselves, Round Lake we got to have,
North Chicago,
North Chicago we got to have,
Grant maybe,
Grays Lake North, and then you tell yourself, hey, we're going to have to beat Lakes. We're going to have to either beat one of the two Wakandas or Antioch. And if we're able to kind of go, let's say 5-2 in conference,
mm-hmm.
We're gonna for sure have that 5 win. That's gonna a 5th win. That's gonna put us into the playoffs with our points, given our strong non-conference. And then you're gonna say, listen, we're 5-2, but we've played a really good schedule. I think we're prepared for that, for those first 2 games in their playoff run. So and I've said this before, Perlman isn't thinking about just conference. He's not thinking about building this with conference championships. He wants to win. He wants to go deep into the playoffs, and I know for sure he's thinking about winning a state title. And at 6A, if you're going to win a state title, you're going to have to really play some tough competition, and that's exactly what he's done.
I think one benefit, even if, let's just place scenarios for a second, even if you go 0-2, I think Grays Lake Central does themselves a favor, like you said, playoff points, that they don't need to sweat out 6 wins. 5-4 will probably get them in just fine. And I know some NLCC schools and Central Suburban have had to sweat out 6 wins just to be safe. But I think even if they go 0-2 or 1-1, I think they may not have to panic as much in conference to get into the playoffs and even get a decent seed.
I agree. Hey, Fidel, it's Dominic again. Bolingbrook has that freshman. He's going to be a sophomore quarterback. He's already got a handful of Power 5 offers. His name escapes me right now, but he trains with Jeff Christensen, who's like the guru quarterback trainer, and I've seen him throw a lot. So I think for Central, I mean, you look at their schedule. I mean, if they go 0-2, honestly, in my opinion, I think they're behind the 8 ball. Yes, you got North Chicago, Round Lake's down, but they got a new coach there who like is really building the culture, and they got some athletes there. You got to have those wins, and you got to have Grant, and Grant's got a new coach, his second year now. They got a new quarterback there in Gibson who can throw it all over the place. So I think the passing attack is going to be really important this year for these high school teams, just because you're going to have to spread it out. Last year you saw at Central, I'm a little partial. My son went there last year, but you had a Division I athlete in Caden Miller as a receiver, but then they moved him to running back, and you saw them just get shut down. They didn't. Their quarterback was a nice kid and everything, but he didn't have the ability to spread the field. And all these teams are smart. These varsity coaches are smart. They're gonna put 8 and 9 in the box, and they're gonna stop the run, and they're gonna dare you to throw it. And if you don't have that in this conference, Antioch is about the only team that's consistently can move the ball around and spread it around with their running game, and they do a good job of mixing up their passing game.
Coach Garcia, you still there? Coach Garcia, you still there with us? Did you hear Coach Pavell?
Yes.
Okay.
I agree. I think Grays Lake Central is going to have to show out for sure in their in conference, and showing out is going to be 5-2. That's going to be the minimum. But do they have a chance to beat Bolingbrook? Probably not. But I think they're going to be looking for different types of, if you would call it, flurried victories within that game, or checkpoints or goals within that game that they're going to be able to leave that game, win or lose, and say this prepared us for the next game.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Coach. Keep going.
I was going to say the Geneseo game. That's another good team, but that's a team I think that they're probably going to feel like they can win. If Grays Lake Central goes 1-1, because I really strongly don't think they'll be. I really don't think they'll be Bolingbrook, but there'll be a parameter on that game, even if they lose. I think that'll prepare them for that next game, and then those two games can really propel them. They stay healthy. They improve. Those two type of games can really propel them and give them momentum going into conference. Because like I said, Perlman's looking past just conference. He wants to win a state title. And if you're going to do that in that conference, your non-conference games have to be top notch.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I agree. I'm looking at the schedule right now. Geneseo last year, Central beat them 24-14. I was at that game. It was a 17-14 game, and then Caden Miller broke a punt return. It was either a punt or kickoff return for a touchdown. So they don't have that game breaker athlete right now. So it's going to be a team effort for sure. And I just. If they don't win that Geneseo game, because then the Grays Lake North game is a must win. It's an absolute must win, which is the 4th game of the season after North Chicago. Maybe we should be broadcasting that Grays Lake North, Grays Lake Central game, a rivalry game.
I think it's a thought. I think we're definitely looking at that one.
It's at Central.
Okay. Yeah, I think to this point, I think Bolingbrook's probably a little too much of a reach, but I think, like Fidel said, as long as they don't get blasted and they have some momentum points, I think the season's still alive for the Rams.
Any game is winnable in high school.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
The clock always starts at 0-0, as they always say. But, Coach, we give a lot of love to Wakanda and Antioch, and I kind of want to give some love to maybe some teams that are looking for some bounce backs. We mentioned Grant for briefly. They seem to have a little rough non-con Mundelein and Glenbrook North. Also looking at Lakes, they have their fair share of challenges taking on Lake Forest and Vernon Hills. It seems as though Lakes hasn't quite been the same since the pandemic. They're not the same Lakes that takes Antioch down to the wire to challenge for the NLCC. Based off those factors and what we've seen last year, who are you maybe looking at, whether it's Grays Lake, whether it's Grant or Lakes, teams like those in the NLCC, they may be thinking they can sniff out 5 wins and potentially get a playoff bid?
Yeah, I mean, that team is probably going to be have to be Grant. I think Ground Lake's still a ways away from being a playoff team. And Grays Lake North. I think Grays Lake North is a team right now that's probably somewhere in the middle of the hunt right there. And if they could start off 2-0 non-conference, they'll just need 3 more wins to qualify. Grant in my mind is a little bit of a sleeping giant. I think winning at Grant, there's the challenges of winning at Grant, but if you can get it going, Dick Kennard, who was the old athletic director there, used to tell me there's a lot of great athletes in the building, and don't forget Grant is they're 2000, so that's a 7A school team. They're 4A in basketball. They have a good amount of enrollment there that could sustain a team that could be a force in that conference. The one thing I do know about them is I think they're going to go back to their old style of option, running the ball a lot more. I think they just understand that's just who they are and how they'll be successful. If they can get that figured out, if the culture can get set pretty quickly, there's going to be athletes in that building within that program that can make them competitive. They'll probably have to go 1-1 in their non-conference and then win 4 games in conference, which isn't out of the realm. I think they can beat North Chicago. I think they can beat Round Lake. I think they can they can potentially beat a Lakes. They may have to play really well, but they can definitely be a team like Grays Lake North. And if they go 1-1 in non-con, that's their 5th win there. So
problem is, Coach, I hate to be the Debbie Downer here, but looking at Grant's non-con, they got Mundelein, who they've played the last couple of years. Mundelein's won both matchups. Another school who really needs 5 wins, and they're probably making the Grant game a must-win. And then you have a very solid Glenbrook North team in the Central Suburban League South. So I hate to put all the eggs in one basket, but is it probably realistic to say that in order for Grant to realistically get 5 wins, that Mundelein game week 1 is almost a must-win given their path?
Yeah, it definitely sounds like that. Glenbrook North, I don't know if that's going to necessarily be a game that Glenbrook North can chalk up as a win. But again, if there's a team that nobody thinks is going to be in the playoffs that ends up making the playoffs, I'd put Grant in that picture. If you had to ask me today, is Grant going to be in the playoffs? Just given their schedule, given who they, given their past, I'm going to say probably not. But the question was, if there's a team that no one would expect to make the playoffs but did, I think Grant's a team that has that type of potential.
Okay, Coach. I really agree with you too on that one. They actually have a sophomore quarterback who's kind of been penciled in, Matthew Gibson, who's really good. He's big. He's about 6'2" now. and he can throw it all over the place. He trains with Honesty down in. He was the quarterback, one of the quarterback gurus that are around in this area. And I heard that they're moving Rylan Art to safety. They got a sophomore running back who's really good too. So they got some young talent, and Norwood, the head coach there, he's done a good job of rebuilding the culture from the previous coach who just didn't have the experience. But I agree with you. It is a sleeping giant there if they can build the culture. So it's going to be interesting. They're definitely a sleeper. I could see them being up there with the Antiochs. I can see them with 4 wins. And again, the first 2 games they have to beat Mundelein. Is really important. Mundelein is that quarterback still back at Mundelein? He was a big kid. I went to that game last year. I thought he was really athletic. 6'3", 6'4" kid.
Yeah, I think he's gone. You're talking about Pollock.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He's graduated, but they I think Mundelein's strength is up front, and that's something that's very, and we've talked about this on the show before. That's something that's very rare. It's been a while since Mundelein's has had that type of size, and we're not just talking about on the offense. We're talking about the defensive end, and the difference I think that could propel Mundelein into the playoffs this year is they have a little bit of depth. They got the depth on both lines. They don't in prior past. They've had a lot of guys that have had to play both ways on the line, and this year they got the most of their guys. They're gonna just have to focus on one side. And Mundelein goes 2-0. You got to imagine they're thinking Zion and Waukegan are 2 wins that they got to have.
Right. That
puts them at 4, and so now they just got to upset one team. And that's something they've done in the past under DeFrancesca. So it's, this could be the year for Mundelein for sure.
I always thought Mundelein was like a little sleeping giant because, I know you coached with Dick at Mundelein basketball, and he always just had players. Granted, his sons were really good, and you had Brust and everything, but he would always just get players and develop them. And that school is another large school that has athletes. You all of a sudden you'd see baseball players getting drafted and getting Division I scholarships. So you got athletes there. And again, Mundelein is another like sleeping giant, I think.
Yeah, Mundelein's done very well. I think the issues that the coaches run into is there's just not the same depth of athletes that you have in the conference that they play in. There's 2,000 kids there, but maybe 1,300 are actually participating in sports. So there's the 700-800 that don't participate that you're not drawing from. So that's actually, and we've talked about this in the past, that's actually kudos to the coaching staffs at Mundelein. They've really done a good job of developing their guys because they're in their conference. They're competing with teams that some that are at 2,500, 3,500, 4,000, and then you look at Libertyville, LZ, and Lake Forest.
Right, and Stevenson.
They're only bigger than Lake Forest, but all 3 of those schools, they have high participation rates. Yeah, from all their enrollment.
Coach, last question before I let you go. On the Mundelein note, so obviously looking at their non-con, they got Grant and Grays Lake North. They split those 2 games last year, which kind of put them in a tough spot math-wise to get to the playoffs. Let's assume that they start 2-0. And we saw in 2021 they beat Libertyville. Given what we saw last year, Lake Forest was a little down, but they still beat Mundelein handedly. If you're Coach DeFrancesco at Mundelein, who is that 5th win? Because you got the 2 non-cons, Zion and Waukegan. and then you're looking at either Stevenson, Lake Zurich, Libertyville, or Lake Forest for that quote-unquote steal win, 5th victory. Which game would you say is probably the optimistic one that you think could clinch a bid if you're on the line?
I think realistically it's going to be Lake Forest. And that's I say that and knowing that this could be the year Lake Forest turns it around after a couple rough seasons. I think Lake Zurich's got things rolling. I think that's going to be a tough game. I think Warren's going to be a game that probably won't happen. I think it's going to be Lake Forest. Libertyville to me is going to be a much improved team. They got a lot of young talent that now is starting to mature and come to age. I know they had a really good freshman class last year, and from what I've been told, they have a really, really, really good freshman class coming in this year. So they got a little bit of size and depth.
What about Stevenson? How do you look at Stevenson when those two match up?
That's tough. Stevenson is a team that despite having down years, I don't know if they're there yet, but maybe but I think it's going to be. I think Lake Forest is the team that they probably got penciled in the back of their head and saying that's the game that we're going to win.
Luckily, I think that game this year is actually at Mundelein. Let me double check. I think that might actually even be the closer because I know Zion is Mundelein's homecoming. Let's take a look here. Yeah, Mundelein, yep, ends. Oh, no, it's at Lake Forest again this year. So that might be a little bit of a challenge because Lake Forest might be playing for their playoff lives, too.
Hey, I saw Libertyville. Actually, this is a little fun fact. So I'm a little bit of a football nerd in Lake County. So my son, we have friends of the family that were playing youth football. And I was at the Grant Libertyville, this was 2 years ago, semifinal game to go to the Super Bowl. And Libertyville had a tight end running back kid that was probably 6'2", at the time, 108 pounds. Kid was a mule. So he's going to be a sophomore. He's going to be up on varsity. Grant had Matthew Gibson, who was the quarterback on that team too. So you got like a lot of young talent. Libertyville's going to be good. I agree with you on that one because they've actually had the last 2 Super Bowl champs in youth, TCYFL. So the team that's a sophomore, and that freshman class was really good too. I think they only maybe lost 1 game when they were in the youth at that 8th grade year. So, and they got a good, they have a good culture and a good program there. So those kids play and develop. So they're going to be a force this year. I think Libertyville's the sleeper in the North Suburban Conference.
Coach Garcia, you got anything to add before we let you go for break?
No, that's all. Thanks, guys, for having me on.
Hey, good luck with the basketball season.
I'll talk to you guys.
Coach, good luck. I'll see you. I'll be on the Antioch sideline.
Coach, we expect you up in the booth this year. We need you broadcasting football.
I will.
All
Good
right.
talking to you guys.
Take care.
Later, Coach. Later. That was Fidel Garcia, our very WRLR own, who is the Warren Blue Devils boys basketball varsity assistant. So always great talking.
And defensive coordinator. So on basketball, he's the one that's in charge of the defense.
Oh, yeah. And for all I was his manager my freshman and sophomore year when he was the sophomore coach of Mundelein.
Yeah.
If I had $1 for every time he chewed players out for not talking on defense or,
Did he stomp his foot like he did at Carmel?
Yes. So
that always cracked me up. I didn't know what he was trying to say with that.
Well, you got to remember, Carmel's gym is packed.
Yeah.
And, that crowd goes crazy, and sometimes you got to do anything or everything to have them hear you. So, yeah.
He did him and Zach did a good job of rebuilding Carmel. The new coach there, Dimitri Pearson, is also, continuing it on. They won a regional last year. Fidel is one of my favorites in Lake County for sure.
I do not want to jinx by any means, but before we go to break, basketball-wise, think about it. Stevenson's got a first-year head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Lake Forest lost Asa Thomas. Mundelein brought back Bishop, but they're a little young. Waukegan, I think, will be improved, but I don't think they're quite ready yet to take the reins. Zion has a new coach. Zion has a new coach. Like Zurich has kind of not been the same since they went to super sectionals back in 2018.
Right.
They're still kind of down. I don't want to jinx Fidel, and I know he's going to chew my ear off, but I really think with the talent I've seen with them, this could be the year that they might be able to sneak a North Suburban championship under their belt.
Oh, no, I think so. I think they're the front runner for sure in the North Suburban. Lake Forest has got...
Oh, yeah, and Libertyville lost a lot of talent from their sectional run, too. So
Aiden Boone was a huge factor in that. He was like the Draymond Green.
Yeah.
I love that kid. But, yeah, Warren's got a shot. Phil Scala at Lake Forest, they got size and length, dude. Yeah. I mean, I saw them at Loyola, and... They're 6'5" across, They're Abernell is the 6'3" kid, but they got shooters and they space and they run. They play hard. I actually grew up with Phil Lascala. We went to Catholic school together.
Oh, really? What school?
St. Joan of Arc in Lisle, Illinois.
Lisle? Okay.
So he's my older brother's age. Phil has a younger brother, Mark, who was my age. Mark was coach at Lisle for a long time. And Phil's dad used to be the athletic director and head basketball coach at Benedictine University back in the day. Okay. So he was my first baseball coach.
Jeez, okay.
So, but so he's got a really good talent there. So they're a sleeper too for basketball wise.
Yeah, I never count him out, no matter what they have on the roster. He always finds a way to give the top dogs a run for their money.
Yeah, he does. They compete and they play D though. That's one thing that they do, and they're fundamentally sound. All those kids. So
and sometimes they like to slow the game down and kind of muck it up and limit your possessions, and you're like, oh shoot, we're in a
you're in a fight.
39 game,
right?
Not a 87.
No,
game.
I would prefer a game in the 60s for sure. But he controls the tempo. That's one thing he does do well.
Yeah, I can never like that gym. It almost feels like my middle school gym, that Lake Forest gym. It's so small, and you would think for such a wealthy community that they would get something fancy.
Or go over to the West Campus, and they got a huge gym in there. Like, build something out. Build something nice.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
You just got $100 million, I heard. I think they just passed a bond where they got $100 million.
Holy mackerel.
For Lake Forest. So, yeah, they need to put a new stadium in there. Basketball, not football. They already got the football stadium.
Oh, don't get me started. That stadium's pretty nice.
It is.
But anyway, all right. We'll go to break, and when we come back, we'll dive our toes in the water with some North Suburban and maybe a little bit of Central Suburban League football. You're listening to the Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey. Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Ronald Curtis Grace, host of the Ear Candy Emporium show right here on WRLR 98.3 FM. Join us every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Central Time. We'll share some great music, have a laugh or two, and get your weekend started on the right note. That's the Ear Candy Emporium show, the home of sweet musical treats. Every Friday afternoon from 4 to 6, right here on WRLR 98.3 FM and streaming live on WRLR.FM. See you then.
Talking to your kids about the dangers of vaping can be hard. Getting them to listen to hot gossip is easy. So here's some drama you could share with your kid. Dude, did you hear about Cassie and Jake? No, but did you hear that vaping can cause irreversible lung damage and nicotine affects brain development? Nuh-uh. You don't need to gossip if you want to have an open conversation about vaping. So if you want to get tips on when and how to talk to your kids, visit talkaboutvaping.org. Brought to you by the American Lung Association and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Frank Tarzeski, inviting you to listen to Music Matters every Friday from 1 to 4 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3 on your FM dial. I play polkas, I play country, I play crazy songs, I play requests and jazz. That's Music Matters 1 to 4 p.m. right here on WRLR 98.3.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
WRLR 98.3 FM.
And we're back to the Lake County Sports Scoop on 98.3 WRLR, the voice of Lake County. Carson Beck in studio with Dominic Pavell. Rusty Silver still airborne, transportating from the land of angels, Los Angeles to
California.
I told him, did he stay at Hotel California?
Right, Calabasas, though. Nice area.
I chewed his ear off. He didn't see the Rose Bowl stadium when he was out there. I wanted him to. I went there the last time I went to L.A. because my cousin was on the USC football team, and Rose Bowl is definitely on my bucket list, and it's a beauty.
Yeah. No, yeah, I would definitely, if I was out there, I'd be all over the Rose Bowl for sure. On
a non-high school related note, I don't know if you saw this, and maybe I should take a step back because it was Barstool that was reporting this, but did you see that the Big Ten is really pushing towards getting Washington, Oregon, Florida State, and Clemson?
Oh yeah, I saw that today. It's I have a friend that coaches in one of the Power 5 schools, and he told me this 2 years ago that the Power 5 schools are making a move to pretty much almost separate themselves from the NCAA. The amount of money that these schools are making now, you don't need them. You got league commissioners. You have NIL now, so there's no. I mean, besides academics, what else do the coaches have to really look at for compliance?
I guess drugs.
Right. But I mean, pot's legal now.
But you got to remember, it's still federally illegal. That's the kicker.
Well, depending on the state, though. It's state to state.
Right, but they can still say, oh, wait, but it's still federally illegal. And no matter, like Illinois, I'm sure the quarterback can't be smoking pot in his room, even though it's illegal in Illinois, for example.
Right. Well, I'm sure that's it's a school, probably a school policy. It's more individual, So then you get all these different commissioners that are jockeying for these teams, and they're like, all right, hey, it's illegal. It's legal or it's illegal, whatever the case may be. Then you're going to be fine. Like if it's legal, there's nothing NCAA wise, compliance wise. You just have a commissioner do it in their own conference.
It's one thing if let's look at it this way. Colorado just left the Pac-12 to go back to the Big 12. They're now going to 9 teams after USC and UCLA packed their bags.
Yeah.
If Washington and Oregon or any 2 Pac-12 teams leave, that puts them at 7. I was telling this to a couple people. Do you seriously start throwing your hands in the air and say, no more Pac-12, let's just merge with the Big 12 or the ACC or the Big 10?
That's possibly going to happen, but it depends on their TV revenue deal. So a lot of the teams, there's profit sharing in these conferences. So, for example, in the Big 10, I saw somewhere where Michigan, Ohio State, they netted $40 or $50 million just as a team in itself without the TV revenue from the conference. Mm-hmm. So now you have to share that within the conference too. So that's why all these schools are looking to jockey. They're like, well, I'm going to go. Clemson going to leave, come to the Big 10 because they're tired of giving up their money. Now you go into a conference where they have teams that are making that money. Yeah. You don't have to give up that much of a share. The Pac-12, what's really killing them is the TV revenue.
There's 2 catches with the Pac-12. Did you know that the Pac-12 is the only Power 5 conference right now who is yet to re-sign a new media deal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I did not know that.
And you got to remember, Fox covers primarily Big Ten and Big 12.
Yeah.
The Big Ten just got, CBS and NBC starting this year, as well as Fox, a little bit of ESPN and the Big Ten Network. What does the Pac-12 really have? The Pac-12 Network that majority of the United States doesn't get on a general TV package, and then maybe a couple ESPN games if we
get it. Even if we do get it, the games are at 9 o'clock at night. We're at 9, 10 o'clock at night. Their games are at at 6, 7 there. I mean, only the degenerates are really watching that game, worried about if Oregon's going to cover the 17-point spread that they got.
Right.
Oregon's not going to leave the Pac-12 because they're the staple for that conference right now. That conference will throw anything at them to make sure they stay because they got Nike behind them.
I think the only reason they may not merge is, remember, when the college football playoff expands to 12, there's 5 conference champions that get bids, and that would assume that
they're one of them. Well, right now there is a Power 5, but the way it's going, in 2 years there might be only 4. So
I think their best hope, if I was the Pac-12 commissioner, maybe get a few Mountain West schools like Boise State, San Diego State.
Well, they need to get. I don't know where Utah's at right now.
Utah's in the Pac-12 right now.
They're in the Utah. Yeah, so they need to get BYU.
No, BYU just joined the Big 12 starting this year.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I don't think they'll. So I think San Diego State, Boise State.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Boise State for sure.
I think North Dakota State can move up to D1A, and
yeah, that would be an interesting move for sure. But yeah, they need San Diego State for sure. They need and they need
maybe
Boise State,
maybe San Jose State too. The
Fresno State.
Oh, and I didn't even think of that one. I'm trying to think of anyone else.
But I mean, they need those 3 schools in there.
Yeah.
Those are schools that had some prominence in the last 10 years.
Yeah, Fresno State's pretty decent.
Yep.
San Diego State.
The OC's a Western Illinois grad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's Jeff Heklinski is the name. So he's a Palatine kid. Went to Illinois and then transferred to Western Illinois and won a couple conference championships and got us to the semifinals. But we lost to Western Kentucky and Georgia Southern. And the Georgia Southern game was they cheated. So
in what sense?
So we had a linebacker at Western who was Defensive Player of the Year for 1AA, and on the sideline he makes a tackle. On the sideline he stands up. A player from the bench from Georgia Southern punched him and hit him, and he retaliated. And the ref threw him out for retaliating.
It's always the one that responds.
It's always the one. But you never trust Georgia Southern, a bunch of hillbillies down there.
Well, yeah, now Western Kentucky and Georgia Southern are now D1A.
Yeah, and we had a big fight against Western had a big fight against Western Kentucky when Harbaugh's dad was the head coach.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's another school I don't like.
All right. All right, Dom, it was good talking with you.
Carson, pleasure. I love doing it.
I have a feeling Rusty's going to try recruiting you into the press box a couple of games this fall.
I would love to do it. We got to get a podcast. We got to get a podcast or something on YouTube. So, because we're definitely entertaining.
I'm all in. And by the way, for our listeners, for those who want to re-listen or couldn't catch the show today, you can catch recordings of the Lake County Sports Scoop on my YouTube page, which is called the Lake County Sports Scoop. It's the Lake County Sports Scoop. Yeah. You can also catch, and those clips will also be posted to Facebook on the Lake County Sports Scoop page as well.
I think Rusty always fights us because he's got a face for radio. He doesn't have a face for TV.
Oh, jeez. I'll make sure to send the message to him. Dom said it, not me, Rusty. Don't cheer. We have 40-minute combos anyway. I don't need him chewing my ear up anymore.
Exactly.
All right.
Thanks a lot again.
All right. For Fidel Garcia and Dominic Pavell, this is Carson Beck. So long.